Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you all so much for being with me. I do appreciate it. Remember, you can support the Fallen State by going to TheFallenState.tv/donate or locals.com. I do appreciate it. I have with me today Bryan Callen. He is an actor, stand-up comedian, and the host of Off Limits and the Fighter and the Kids podcast. Welcome, man.
Thank you, man. It's good to be here.
I appreciate you coming.
Well, I've been a fan for a while.
I was surprised when you told me that.
No, because I like you've always been a guy who speaks it like it is, which is not easy.
Yeah.
But you don't care. Like, I always got this sense you were just like, you'd say something that was so unorthodox for a lot of your listeners, and they'd be like, what? And you just look straight at them like this. Yeah, I said it. I'll say it again. And you'd repeat it slower.
You know what happened when I first started out? I was just speaking simple truth, you know, because I was raised that way. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that people would get mad about it. And when I did not.
Well, you know what? You come from a generation, and frankly, I do too, where your feelings didn't matter.
No.
Like my joke is, if you were talking about how something felt, you better be talking about somebody's shoes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean your feelings? If I said
Yeah.
that to my father.
Yes.
Emotions even. Like,
Yeah.
my father was like, I got it. You feel this way about it. But that doesn't mean you got to do what it takes. Well, I didn't get into a college I wanted to go to. He goes, the reason you didn't get into that college is because you are not the kind of person that attends that college. And the reason you're not the kind of person that attends that college is because you're not willing to do what a person who attends that college does.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
That's called objective reality.
That's
and you
right.
can twist the fabric of reality and let your kids kind of think that the world is not that. Good luck with that.
I remember once I went home crying from school because I had some argument with some kid. And my grandmother told me, you know what, if you ever come home crying again, I'm going to beat you. I was like, what?
Wait a minute, what about this? What about the therapy?
No therapy.
Right?
All right, no therapy.
I grew up with corporal punishment always being a possibility.
Yeah.
My father had a size 14 shoe. My mother used to ride horses, so
Yeah.
she had a riding crop. And that sounds harsh to people, but I didn't know anybody who wasn't raised that way.
Me either.
Right? And then now I'm raising my kids in Los Angeles. And we're seeing a child psychologist. You know, my first wife was into all that, and God bless her, she's a great mother, but she didn't know. She was trying to investigate. And I'd be talking to these new age child psychologists, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think that's how you raise a human being.
No.
Because if I don't act like some version of objective reality, I'm not saying you beat your kids, I'm not saying that, but you've got to be somewhat black and white with your kids.
Yes.
Otherwise, the world's going to be that way.
Not only did we get whoopings at times, they would have us go out to the tree and get the branch.
This is that Alabama schooling.
And I remember I used to look for the smallest switch that I could find.
That's intelligence. That's a sign of intelligence right there.
All right.
You know what I mean?
So what's important to you?
The truth. I think first of all, living the truth, not suffering from wishful thinking, and learning how to. I think part of it is what you realize is sometimes the worst things that happen to you are the best things if you can navigate them properly. And I think what's important to me is to be wary of that which is convenient and that which is comfortable. And that which gives me respite from facing the things I need to face. You know, I think part of what I do as a comic and what always drives me is the notion of original self-expression.
Okay.
I want to be original. I don't want to be derivative.
Right.
And to be original requires you to have a communion with what I would call not your truth, but the truth.
Right.
Which is why, as I get older, I gain so much more respect for religion, not philosophy. I've read a lot of philosophy, but I find myself going in a circle.
Right.
And there's something about transcendent truth. There's something about the notion that there's something bigger than you are, that is something you can't measure, that's something you can't define, that's something you can't really name, that is always there. And you have to, and you know you know the difference.
Right.
You can say you don't, but we all know the difference.
No, you do know.
You know when you're messing up, and you know when you're...
We all know right from wrong, for sure.
And the rest is noise, and the rest is propaganda, and the rest is advertising.
And so were you raised a Christian?
No. No, I wasn't, ironically. Now, my father went to the seminary, but I think his, and my mother was Catholic, but I think along the way, my father was so probably steeped in such a dogmatic notion of what religion was, and it was almost beat into him. Maybe it really was beaten into him by the nuns.
Right.
And I think he kind of rebelled. But the one thing that they both took with them were Christian values. So you can say you're not a Christian, but both of them always talked about character, talked about truth, talked about self-control, all those things. And doing the right thing and never lying. Yeah. Because you never get away with it. And I didn't absorb that until I was, I had to figure it out on my own.
And so were you an atheist?
I was never an atheist.
So when you say you were not a Christian and your parents were doing what they were doing, so what were you at the time growing up?
I think
when it comes to that?
I think I always had nostalgia or an inner notion that there was something bigger than myself.
You always had that?
Yeah, I have. So I'll give you an example. When I came out of college, I remember I was interviewing with these banks, and you're raised to be practical. Your parents want the best for you, so they want you to be practical. Don't be a dreamer now.
Right.
Don't be what do you mean a comic? What do you mean an actor? What are you talking about now? Come on. I'd say the same thing to my kids. Actor? You want to be a comic? Come on now. But I knew that at the end of my life, I didn't want my life to just be a number. I didn't want to just be able to point to a number in a bank and say I made it. And that's what I did, and I got all this stuff as a result of that. I knew there was something more than that. I knew that wouldn't complete my circle. I wouldn't be enough. The other thing that happened to me is I grew up in the developing world when I was coming up. And I grew up around, so I'd spent a lot of time, I'd been to Africa.
Oh yeah,
I'd born in the Philippines, lived in India, Calcutta and Bombay, Lebanon, in the war, Pakistan, then Greece, then Saudi Arabia. But remember, while I was there, I went to communist China in 1984. I went to communist Russia in 1985.
That's amazing.
I was in Yemen. I was in Syria. I was in, all these countries that most people don't go to. And I was in countries that had been on the losing side of history, that had been colonized, that had gone through a lot of stuff. So what happens when you're a white kid in an air-conditioned car behind a pane of glass with the protection of the American infrastructure behind you, is you, and remember, those were all friendly governments. So you were very safe as an American, living on a compound typically.
And you felt safe?
You always felt safe.
Oh, okay.
Because you were, so what happened, the shame of growing up behind a pane of glass in an air-conditioned car, literally watching starving Africans, starving Pakistanis, starving Indians, watching them, kids my age beg. When you see kids my age beg, when you see people with full-blown leprosy like I did in Syria, when you see people with elephantitis like I did in certain countries, you see these diseases, you see them, you see them for real. When you're a kid, you don't understand why you're so lucky. It makes no sense that the math fell in your face. I didn't do anything.
Right.
I didn't do anything to deserve that. So I had a very deep understanding as a very young child of how lucky I was for no reason.
So you were raised in the military, right?
My father was a banker, but probably other things too. I think he was.
Oh, he was a banker.
He wasn't in the military, but I think he was a Marine, and then he became a banker, and he probably did other things for the government, if you know what I mean.
I see. And that took you around the world.
Yeah.
And so being a kid and living in all those places like that, what did it look like to you? I mean, when you compare it to America, what did it look like?
Bro, when I'd come back to the United States, see, people don't understand. When I would come back to the United States, it smelled different, man. It smelled clean. The streets were clean.
Yeah.
I remember getting milk, like you could drink, like the idea that you could drink out of the faucet was crazy. Crazy.
When you came to America?
Hell yeah, you couldn't. What do you mean drink out of the faucet? Like I didn't grow up that way. You would get hepatitis and 1,000 giardia, and I got all of it, by the way, as a kid, all of it. You'd get worms. We had worms, man. You get everything. It didn't matter if you were a part of a multinational company or government. You got that shit as a kid. So that was just the order of the day. The things were not, we didn't grow up with TV. I didn't grow up with a neighborhood where people knew each other and a paper route. I used to fantasize about how cool that would be when somebody would ride their bike and throw the paper and they knew their neighbors.
That's amazing.
Like, what are you talking about? All those things.
So when you were in China and Pakistan, even that name sounds scary.
Yeah.
Pakistan.
Well, when you go to China and I was probably, what was I? I was 17 or 16, and I never forgot seeing, so the Maoists and Mao and the communists wanted to break down category. It goes back to this non-binary stuff that we've been dealing with.
Right.
The idea behind that was that when you have a category, when you have a binary, male, female, short, tall, black, white, you are naturally going to favor one over the other. This is how our brains work, right?
Yes.
So the way you get rid of all prejudice is what? You get rid of all category. No black and white, no man, woman. So the Maoists said the women had to cut, all the men and women had the same haircut, they wore the same uniform, and they all rode bicycles. So when I tell you, when I was in that tourist bus and I looked out the back window, and you would see a sea of blue smocks and blue pants. Blue smocks and blue pants. And then you'd see just everybody on bicycles. So then we went to, and this is all due respect to anybody from China, because China's made huge strides, but this is all due respect.
Right.
But we went to Canton, which is a place outside of maybe Shanghai or Beijing, I don't know. And I never forgot this, man. You want to talk about what Chinese food is? Most of China starved for a long time. So you ate whatever you could catch. Whether that was a bullfrog or a beetle, it didn't matter. Like, you didn't have the luxury of eating steak, man.
And cats and dogs and
whatever
all that.
whatever you got. In China is a history of people who are always hungry. Because, the emperor would control everything. It was a feudal state, most of the world. But when I was there, that memory was still very fresh. So we went to these restaurants. I don't know what the food was. They would put it on a rotating table. I don't know what the food was.
And you just ate it.
Man, we'd just eat rice and stuff. But two things I noticed. And I'm saying this with respect to the Chinese, because I'm sure they're not proud of this, but you do what you have to when you have nothing.
Of course.
They'd send around towels and everybody would wipe their hands. And then they'd refold the towels and give them to the next table.
The same towel?
Yeah, that's because that was just how you did. It's just, you didn't have the luxury of running water. But this is the craziest part. Went to this restaurant, and there were pigs under the restaurant. They had these pigs. And what was going on was that when you went to the bathroom, it would go through the slats, and the pigs would clean up the mess.
Wow.
That's how a lot of the world lived, man. That's how a lot of the world in rural China, or anywhere.
Did you go to the bathroom and do that?
I don't remember. I didn't go. I just peed, I think. But
I will forget,
yeah.
too.
But I'll tell you this about China. I'll tell you this about 1984 in China. We went to those circuses. We went to those acrobats. And when you saw what those people were able to do, when you saw how they could dance with nothing, they had no money, not enough food. When you watched what the Chinese were able to do with nothing, like those acrobats. Now, I'm going to say something, you're going to think I'm kidding. I saw a man, I bet you can find it on the internet, line up a bunch of chairs, and he stood on one finger on the end of that chair.
Amazing.
That's the kind of amazing stuff you saw. Right? So and then I went to Russia, I saw the same thing. We went to the Bolshoi Ballet, we saw the dancers. So when you see a people who've been oppressed for that long, and they have nothing, but the only outlet they have is art, the only outlet they have is expression, so they become, that's why you should see those dancers in Russia. You think the dancers here are amazing? I'm talking 1985, where you saw, they were doing things I'd never seen in my life. I couldn't believe it.
So let me ask, it's funny, I never imagined when I would watch these people on TV, when I was younger, I never imagined American living in those places, because I thought that if you went there, they would kill you. I didn't think that we could go there.
Yeah, everybody thinks that, but here's what happens. If you are like my mother, who would learn the language and immerse herself in the culture,
right.
If you go to Syria, if you go to Iraq, if you go to Lebanon, if you go to Saudi Arabia, if you go to those countries, and you make an effort to respect their culture and learn their language even a little bit, bro,
yeah.
I'm telling you right now, there is not an Arab country on the planet. If you went there with your heart open and you were trying to learn the language, Africa, if you went to Kenya and all you got to do in Kenya is wave and smile, The door's open.
Really?
I'm telling you, the door's open.
So let me ask, if you had to live in one of those countries, you had to do it, which one would you choose?
Probably before the war, a place like Syria, a place like Jordan.
Syria?
I know people think I'm crazy.
Yeah, you are.
But listen, I'll explain. So a place like, I'm going to explain why. So a place like, Riyadh, Jeddah, people are like, oh my God. Any of those Arabic countries, any of those villages, like, look, even the villages in Indonesia, okay, or those places. People are like, oh, there's no running water. Okay, cool. But here's the thing about that village. Here's the thing about when you live in an Arabic village before the war or something. Everybody knows each other. Everybody lives together. Everybody laughs together. Everybody plays together. We pay a price for
like
abundance
Alabama.
and efficiency. It is. That's how we all grew up.
Yeah,
Main Street.
Right.
People would Sunday, you'd spend time, so the old people live in your house. They don't go to a home.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Right, I didn't.
Your grandmother's gonna go to a home? No, she's dying in the house.
I didn't like that as a kid because when they would die in the house, I always think their ghost is coming back.
Well, of course, there's all that. But
Yeah.
where would we be without ghosts and those stories?
I know.
You understand? So it becomes the fabric of how we grow up.
So if you were forced to live in one of those countries, you would choose Syria.
I'm not saying this. I just, the people,
Oh.
the people, the family structures. You know, if you go to, I was in Jordan recently. Go to Jordan and start talking about therapy. You know what? They'll look at you like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Start talking to them about antidepressants. They don't have them.
Nice.
Because the reason they don't have them is because when you don't get depressed when you live with 15 of your family members. You might get annoyed.
Right.
There's noise and stuff,
Right.
but everybody stays together. So what happens psychologically is you have this support system. You're connected, man.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
your
it used
friends
to
are
be
there,
that
and
way.
everybody's there. You're never alone.
Yeah. When I was growing up, it was that way too. They didn't have a therapy. I didn't even hear about that until I moved out here. I'm like, what? But they've gotten rid of the family and they replaced it with therapy. It's a money-making thing, really.
Well, we also replaced religion with therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of religion, so now you're a Christian, right?
I wouldn't
Oh,
say
am
I'm
I
a
right?
Christian.
What would you say?
I'm a work in progress.
Meaning what?
Meaning I'm trying to, I'll say this. Let me put it this way. I believe that if you behave as though, if you live by the Christian ethos, and if you try to emulate Christ in your every step, you can never go wrong. And it's probably as close to the truth as you can get.
Oh, okay.
So I'll say that.
But you
I don't want to
won't
be a
say you're
hypocrite,
Christian
though.
yet.
No, maybe not. Maybe I find myself. I've not said this publicly, but I will say maybe because I've immersed myself in the Bible and in the Old Testament.
Uh-huh.
I do find myself making the cross on my body. I mean, it's a weird thing, but I do.
You make the cross on your body?
Sometimes I
mean
do
by
this,
that?
man.
Oh, that's Catholic.
When I find the world to be too much to bear,
Right.
and I say a prayer,
Right.
I pray a lot.
Oh, you do?
I do.
And when you pray, what do you say?
I ask for strength, and I ask to be the best version of myself.
Oh, okay.
And I ask to be the most loving version of myself.
It doesn't work when you pray?
Yeah.
It does work.
It does.
Do you have perfect peace?
I would say no, but much more than I ever was, because I try to never lie. I mean, never lie. I don't lie.
And why don't you have perfect peace?
Well, I just worry. I worry. I don't have enough faith. I worry, but I'm getting better at faith. My wife is a Christian. And
Your wife is a Christian?
and my wife is.
I'm sorry to hear that. What
She
the-
grew up in the church.
Oh, God.
So now you see, you understand. So my
No
wife,
wonder you're scared to go all the way into Christianity.
and she's. I've never met anybody more psychologically grounded.
Oh, yeah?
She's not confused, man. She's not confused.
Really? Does she obey you?
Well, she'll obey me. I mean, my wife, we have a great relationship, so I don't really, but I wouldn't want to, she'll push back. I mean, she's got a lot of self-respect, but we get along so well.
And so does she obey you?
I mean, I don't know what you mean. Like when I tell her to do something?
Does she obey you?
I think so. Yeah.
You're not sure?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't look at it as obey, or I don't order her around. You know, I've never needed to do that.
Right.
We have arguments over things, but I think we share the same values.
But you're not sure she obeys you or not?
I don't know. I don't know what you. So obey would have to sort of comport the notion that I give her orders. You understand? And I don't give her orders because I don't need to.
And why do you think that that's what obey means?
Tell me what you think. It's an interesting
No, I'm just
question.
saying how when you hear the word obey, what make you come up with that meaning?
It sounds like a form of when I think of obey, I think of a bowed head.
Oh, that's
Right.
right. When God said to the wife, "You must obey your husband," you think God means the same thing?
I don't know. I think Paul said that.
Yeah, obey your husbands.
Yeah.
Do you think Paul meant that? That way?
Well, it's an interesting debate because Christianity, in many ways, was really the first that I know of, really the first religion and even philosophy in many ways, but certainly the first religion that, and I want to be careful with this because I might be wrong, but certainly Christianity was the harbinger for the argument that men and women are equal and that all people are equal. So,
well, Christianity doesn't say that men and women are equal.
they're different. They're,
Right.
they're equal in the eyes of the Lord.
Yeah.
So one of the gifts of monotheism, the notion that there's one God, is that all of us are of the same moral worth, which is exactly what our legal system is predicated on, right? So in other words, it's not for me to judge. If I kill a wretch on the street, or Jesse Lee Peterson, you might be worth more to this world in terms of your impact and all that, but I'm doing the same amount of time. Because you see, that wretch on the street morally is worth the same. That's for God to judge. It's not for me to judge. He was nothing. You
But
understand?
even God doesn't say that men and women are equal.
Different, right? But
Yeah.
equal, but still his children.
Right.
So that's
the woman is his daughter, the man is his son.
Yes.
Do you? And I want to come back to the worry thing, but do you believe in the order of God?
Yes.
And what's that order? For those who don't know.
Well, so I think justice and injustice, right? Justice, by the Greek definition, is everything in its rightful place. Injustice is when something's out of its rightful
Right.
place, right? And so when there's an injustice, we need justice to put it back in place. I do think there's an order to the universe. I do think there's something like good and evil.
And
I do think there's right and wrong.
Do you believe in God and Christ, Christ over man, man over woman?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yes, that's the order. That's why when men are not over women, they go out of control. You know how easy it is for women to lose control? They need the light of the man to guide them. Men are the light of the world, the salt of the earth. But if the men are weak, and they are,
Or tyrannical.
and the women would go out of control because the light is out.
Well, the problem is sometimes there are a lot of men that really mess it up for all of us. And there are a lot of men that are tyrannical and vicious and brutal, and they're destroyers.
They're horrible.
And they leave women. They leave women in their wake to pick up all the pieces.
Yeah.
Right. It's the great line, and The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. And I think it's the mother says, or the grandmother says, "And we endured." You men, because a man come in and destroy everything for no reason.
It's because of the woman, though, that men are out of control.
Well, I believe in self-control. You can go back to Adam and Eve here, right? But that's a whole nother debate that I'd love to have with you or talk to you about. I have a theory on that.
Yeah, I want to hit on that today, too.
Yeah.
But do you disagree with me that it's because of the woman that the man is out of control?
No, men follow their stomachs and their wieners.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Matter of fact, those are the last two things that men have to overcome: sex and food.
There you go.
Yeah.
And self-control, self-restriction.
Yeah.
And those are strong impulses, man.
Archie's coffee. I have my own coffee now. Amazing.
Women seem to have speaking of like different, women, I don't care what anybody says, have a much easier time with something called monogamy, you know, or being in the family and dedicated to a man.
You know why that is, right? Mm-mm. Because Satan is the woman's God, and the woman is the man's God. So when the woman, Eve, listened to the serpent, he became her God. And then when Adam, the man, listened to Eve, the woman became his God. And then God said, because you listen to the woman, you're going to suffer. And if you notice, every time the man listens to the woman, he suffers. It's always wrong. He suffers because he's not supposed to listen to the woman, but because he has not overcome the woman is his God.
But what about dumb, foolish men who don't? I mean, I know a lot of dumb dudes.
Right.
Starting with this guy right here.
Yeah, I do too.
You understand?
But that's because they have not overcome the spirit of their mothers.
Really?
Right. They operate in a wrong nature. You become like what you hate. And all men hate their mothers. But in that hating, as little kids, they resent their mothers.
Why? Because they're scolded and beaten by their moms?
Or spoiled, and especially turned against their fathers.
Well, Freud would say they go through a stage where they want to have sex with their mother. That's the Oedipal complex.
As a matter of fact, every man that has sex with a woman who has not overcome their mother, they're having sex with their mothers because they're only attracted to the thing they hate. And so they're attracted to the spirit of their mothers, and that's not going to change until they forgive their mothers. You love what you hate. That's why they fight once they get married, because the woman become the mother, the wife, and the man, the husband, become the boy again, and it repeats itself generation after generation. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but
what the?
But hold on now. We still haven't solved the problem of you get a lot of foolish men who are destroyers, who are a lot of things, right?
Right.
Abusers and all that stuff. So those men need to be, so whether they've strayed and they've worshiped something else. See, they're worshiping something else.
The woman.
Drink, sex,
but
all that stuff.
They're worshiping the woman, and because of that, they try to find peace. They have been turned away from their fathers, and inwardly they're lost. And they're trying to find peace. So they drink, they smoke, they do all these different
fatherlessness. This is the damage when the father leaves the home.
Right.
Okay, right? Because you don't have
or
a
if the father's in the home and the mother turned the children away from the father. Because women hate the father, the wife hates the father. And when the father is not...
Are you blaming women for all the problems?
Yes.
Hold on. Well, I don't understand. Does that go back to the Garden of Eden?
It's repeated itself generation
after
generation.
Now what if Eve, I got a theory on this. Ready for this one?
Yeah.
Now, you and I know that comfort, and so if there's no danger out there, if there's not at least a possibility I might get killed or die, there's no adventure. No adventure, no fun. We need a little juice, man, right? I need some uncertainty. I need some certainty. I need a roof over my head, but I need some uncertainty. The only reason it's fun to ride a motorcycle that fast is you might fall and lose all the skin on one side of your body, right? Like there's things that we want to, we need that. Come on, man. That's why when we watch people fight, I'm a big fight fan. I don't know what's going to happen, man. You know, sports are the same way. I don't know I believe that in some ways, the Garden of Eden is a very interesting story to me, because I don't think man and woman can live in a garden where nothing can kill you, where nothing can happen, where nothing can hurt you. Because now there's no adventure. Now there's no fun. You want to stay there for eternity with each other? You want to talk about boredom? What are you going to do? Snuggle with a vegan tiger? Nothing's going to bite you. So in fact, nothing happens.
Why don't you believe that?
What if Eve bit that apple because she was bored out of her mind? What if it was an escape, man? You know what I mean? Like Adam was like, let's climb another tree and take a nap. You know? And she was like, get me out of here, man.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying?
So why don't you believe that you can live in the Garden of Eden with perfect peace?
Because I don't think human beings, I don't think we find ourselves there. I don't even think we find God there. Where we find God is in the darkness. I said that to my friend. I go, if you're lucky in your life, bro, you've reached a point where the only thing you can do is fall to your knees and look up. God's not found when you're holding the championship belt over your head and you got 50 women around you.
Amazing.
That's when the devil comes to you. God's found in the dark and the shadows. God's found when you have to struggle. God's found where you are in the middle of a boat in the middle of the ocean and you don't know how to get back. You can't even see land, but you find a way.
And so let me ask. So you say you don't have perfect peace, right? And do you believe it's possible to have perfect peace right here on earth?
I do.
You do believe it?
I do.
And so why don't you have it?
Maybe because I don't have enough faith yet.
What does that mean?
If you have enough faith, if you have enough faith that if you can let go and let God, as they say, that's where we start getting into peace of mind. But I will say this, I'm far closer to peace of mind than I was. Because I'm starting to believe.
How does one know when they have faith?
Well, you got to have faith, man.
And how do you know when you have it?
I think that part of faith, part of being a person who is closer to God is to have doubts, but behave accordingly regardless.
If you can find out right now, if it were possible for you to have perfect peace right now and never worry again, would you take it? If you had perfect peace and never had to worry again,
yes,
and
yes,
nothing or no one could get to you,
yes,
period.
Yes.
Would you accept it right now?
I think that's the goal.
And would you accept it right now if you knew how to get it? First, let me ask about worry. Do you know that worry is an illusion of being right? Worry presents itself as the truth, and it's not.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because worry is that something could go wrong and that I'm not going to be okay.
Yeah, I tell you that, and it's not true at all.
I believe that.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, man.
So if you knew how to get perfect peace right now and walk out of this studio and never have to worry again.
You about to bless me right now?
I feel like something.
He's going to break out into tongues, man.
I feel like something's coming on, huh?
I feel that Holy Ghost power coming in. Yeah, I would, yeah.
You got to drop your anger.
Yeah.
Why don't you drop your anger right now?
I keep that pilot light of aggression going at all times because it's very interesting you asked me that question because I'm realizing I was just meditating on this. I was just thinking about this. So watch this. Tell me, what do you think of this?
Okay.
If I go for a walk and I start writing, I got to start writing stand-up. I've never been able to go for a walk and come up with jokes without veering into a fight where I'm killing my enemies.
Yeah.
Where I'm so worked up that I'm trying to kill everybody who not just has done me wrong, but has done the world wrong.
What a mess.
I'm a mess. I'm a mess. First time I killed a deer, I had my scope, and he goes, it's good shooting. How long have you been shooting? I go, I never shot. He goes, what are you talking about? I go, but I've been killing bad guys just like this since I was 5 years old.
Amazing.
You understand? So I've been rehearsing that in my brain. So when I had to draw a bead on that target and finally that deer, you can see it I did it on Meat Eater, you can see it. I dropped that thing right quick. I mean, boom. Yeah, it wasn't that long a shot. I know a lot of people are like, come on. Right. But still, like I held that bead steady because I've been doing that in my mind because I've been trying to right wrongs. You understand?
Yeah.
And right wrongs with violence in my own head.
Yeah.
And I suffer from that.
You're never going to be able to do that.
How do I get rid of that?
Let me ask you this first.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the hell of your wife when it comes out?
My wife doesn't really give me hell.
But when it comes, she's angry about nothing.
No,
you don't pay me a lot of attention.
No, man. See, my wife, my wife might be further along the line here.
Right.
My wife doesn't worry the way I do.
How do you deal with the anger when it does come?
How do I deal with the anger?
Yeah.
I'm the one she has to deal with. I'm a little bit more like that. She's way more even keeled because she has so much faith. So if there's something going on and I'm freaking out, my wife goes, hey, it's going to be okay, because she prays.
And what do you do when a little anger comes out of her? So she deal with your anger in that way. How do you deal with hers?
We fight and then we let it go.
Okay.
Yeah, we let it go, and then she's very good at letting it go because she doesn't take it personally.
Right.
But I'm a bit of an ogre, man. So I used to get ganged up. My first wife and my daughter, right? They used to gang up.
So you've been married before?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
your second marriage?
Second marriage.
What?
Come on, man. It took me some time. But my first wife and my daughter, they would just gang up on me, or so I decided, so I thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was traveling, I'm doing my thing, I come back in, it's my house, but there was just things. People decided to bully up on you, right?
Right.
I'm being unfair to my wife and daughter, but this is what it was. And I would realize, I was like, I'm getting bullied here. So I'm just gonna cause a little energy. So I'd open the fridge. The fridge is full of food. I go, there's no food in the fridge. She go, what do you mean? I go, there's no food. And I just slammed the door. And my daughter and my wife were both looking at me like this, like, what is this ogre? What is this crazy person doing?
Yeah.
But that was the only way that's how I would put everybody on notice. Now, I'm not saying that's good, but it was this dance.
Yeah.
It's this dance dynamic that you would do, And then she'd have her own version of that. And that's the problem. Sometimes with relationships, it becomes, it's very easy for men and women to get into that antagonistic power dynamic.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what you're going back to. Maybe that's what Paul was saying, or maybe that's what religion was saying, which the notion behind a wife should obey her husband was more about the idea that let's just take care of this power dynamic right away so that we don't get into this. I don't know.
So are you the head of your wife?
Of the household? Yeah, I think so.
Of your wife.
I don't know. I don't think about these. These are questions I don't really think about.
And why not?
They've just never been posed to me.
Oh.
I don't know if they have relevance to me in this world, in a sense.
Do you think it's important that you should be the head of your wife?
Well, I think it might be more important to make sure that your values align so that you don't have to have the real arguments for me in relationships are, you have one way of raising my children that I totally disagree with. So if my wife was somebody who thought that gender was a construct, or that my kids should never be scolded, or that my kids should, or she had a lot of new age ideas, we'd have a problem.
Right.
Because I veer more traditional, maybe more conservative, you understand? Because I just think that I believe that tradition is an experiment that worked. I'm quoting my friend Andrew about that, but that's an interesting thing to say, because so it's very important, if you're going to find your mate that you're going to marry, that you align with that person morally and value-wise, so that you don't have to get into this. You don't have to get married now, and now all of a sudden you realize this person doesn't even hold any of the values. Now we're really going to get into this.
A mess.
It's a mess, man.
Yeah.
So take care of that before that, so that you already understand she respects me. She respects the decisions I make because she knows that the decisions I make align with her values. So we have harmony, man.
And so do you believe that it's important that you should be the head of your wife?
I don't think it's important to get into that. I don't know, the head, what do you mean? So to be the one who's the final decision maker? Is that what you mean?
I mean, do you think that it's important that you, the husband, is the head of the wife? And you should be.
You mean, I don't know so the brain or the head, what do you mean by the head?
You're the light of the family, and that your wife should look to you to see the right way to go.
No.
You don't?
No, man.
And why not?
Because I think she's got some good ideas. I've had ideas that weren't as good as hers.
But there's no such thing as a good idea.
Why not?
Because ideas are not good.
Well, so you have a life decision to make, right? She might have a better perspective on that. She's smart. I don't know what kind of women you've been around, but my wife's smart, bro.
But women
are you married?
Women are not smarter than the men.
Have you ever been married?
No, I almost got married twice.
Okay, so you had never been married.
Right.
Okay.
Meaning what?
Well, I got my black belt in marriage.
Oh,
you might
God.
still be a white belt. Yeah, I think I know why you haven't been married.
No.
Because you're creating this old-fashioned dynamic. Why haven't you ever been married?
Well, I got back engaged twice. As soon as I got engaged, the women tried to control. You know how women love to control?
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to let anyone control me because I know the order, and I wasn't going to let anyone bring me out of that order.
How'd they try to control you?
You know how women tell you, oh, do this or do that. Do you want this? Do you want that? You work too much. You blah, 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 right? And I wasn't going to fall for that. I like that order. But you don't seem to know that or think that it's important that you should even be the head of your wife.
I mean, I don't care about that stuff.
Really?
No, man, because I believe in harmony. I want to be able to
How
come.
will you have harmony if you're not the head of your wife? You can't get it any other way.
Well, yeah, maybe I am the head of I don't think about it, though. Maybe I am. I'm older than my wife.
How old are you? Oh, how many years?
She's 35, I'm 58.
Oh.
Which is, probably should be
Nice
illegal. It
age.
should probably be illegal. But you know what I'm saying?
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, but so there's a respect factor there, but that she has for me and I have for her.
What is it like?
That's a main thing, by the way, I would say. With my wife, I respect her. I respect her brain and I respect her judgment.
Really?
Yeah, man, she's cold. Her judgment is You want to know something? I hate saying it out loud. I'm going to say it out loud. We've had arguments. Plenty of arguments. I don't think I've ever been right.
Really?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think I've ever been right.
And she's
Listen,
always
man,
right.
I'm not some liberal dude. I'm not one of those guys that go, we're pregnant. No, she's pregnant. I'm not one of these guys,
Right.
okay?
Thank you.
I don't like that stuff. But
Right.
I'm saying to you, I think she's always been right. Hey, you know what? She's in a lot of ways, she's got more faith than I do. She's a lot more sensible in many ways. I'm hot. I'm passionate. I'm irrational a lot of times. I go a little nuts.
But that's sad, man.
I know, man. I'm a work in progress, Jesse. What do you want from me? What do you want? You want me to have perfect peace of mind? He wants the Buddha. Who told him I'm the Buddha? I mean, I'm a work in progress. That's why I'm here talking to the Reverend.
What a mess. So,
But wait a minute, you haven't been married.
No.
Do you wish you had been?
No.
What do you mean?
I grew up wanting to be married.
Okay.
Really?
Because you're a traditional dude.
Right. I wanted, and I had planned to get married, buy a house.
But then you ran at the first sign of conflict.
I never ran. I don't run.
See, I know the trigger words.
No, I don't run. It's just that I would never let anyone control me. It's just not in my nature.
Yeah, but I don't think I get controlled.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you're not alpha.
No, I'm.
Beta.
He didn't. Oh man. Well, that's a problem. Is that I every time I try to be.
I'm sorry. Hold on. You move. Are you nervous?
No, we're good.
You see that?
Yeah. Is there a lie detector test on this thing? I'm alpha. I promise.
Bring your chin back up to the little white dot there.
Where? Oh, right there. Okay,
Yeah,
good. Just so we
up.
can center me.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. You're right. You never control because you beta.
I'm beta because I'm a beta. I'm producing estrogen as I speak. Yeah, that's what it is. I might start crying.
But what is that like, being married and your wife doesn't obey you, you're not the head of your wife, and you say that she's smarter than you, which I don't believe, but I understand that you believe it, and I understand why you believe it. But what is that like, living a life like that?
Listen, the household is full of harmony, humor. My cortisol levels are low. There's no power dynamic. What I like about my wife is that she has no problem being a stay-at-home mom with my children,
Right.
and having me go out there and fight the battles.
How many children do you have?
I got 4 altogether.
Uh-oh.
2 from my first marriage, and my first wife was the same way. So I married traditional women.
Right.
So that might help.
And did you?
Yeah. So I come from my mother's
help.
traditional. My mother's traditional.
Oh.
My dad was the guy who worked. She stayed at home.
Right. Oh, okay.
And so I came from that dynamic.
Right on.
So my wife, Irish Italian, currently comes from a traditional.
White or Jewish?
I'm white.
Oh, okay.
So my wife comes from that traditional, Italian, Irish, Christian.
Yeah.
So my wife she had her own job and all that, but my wife, once we had kids, she stays at home with my kids. She raises the children. So we have a very traditional household. So maybe I don't have to get into those kind of questions because it's already that way.
What do you think will happen if one day after today you realize, you know what, this is not working the way it's going, and you become alpha with your wife? What do you think? How do you think she will handle you becoming alpha?
I'm already alpha though. She's attracted to me because that's, I would argue that my first wife and my second wife were attracted to my.
Your first wife and second wife?
Yeah.
How many times you been married?
2.
Oh, your second wife.
No, so my second, my current wife.
Okay.
But I would argue that that they are attracted to men who have a forward tilt, like a man who I'm a competitive, fairly aggressive man. I'm not an abusive man, but I'm aggressive in the world. I'm competitive. I want the best for, so if I have a family, so my kids, that like the most important thing to me is my kids and that I provide for them. And I'm not going to lose in this game. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
I like that.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I think they're drawn to that. Now, I always say that for me there's a certain kind of dude, if you're going to win in this world, and winning is hard because it's always a fight. It's a fight, right? It just is. Like you're competing, you're trying to be better, you're just dealing with a lot, man. And that requires a certain amount of aggression. It's a kind of man, it's a type of man that resonates with a lot of maybe yang energy, male energy. And I think a lot of women are drawn to that. They're attracted to that. So my wife, who came from a traditional background, whose father and her grandfathers were those men, she's drawn to somebody who grew up that way too, and who emulates that.
Amazing.
You understand?
So
I don't know. So we didn't have to get into those conversations. Now you're talking to new age people now. Maybe you're used to guys who are like in these dynamics where it's like 100%. Like see a lot of new age kind of couples are like they won't even discuss the difference between male and female energy.
Yeah. Male
and female dynamic. Because no, we're completely equal. It's got to be 50-50. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You'll never make a relationship work that way.
Never.
Because sometimes she's doing 90% of the work. You're doing 10, but you're doing a lot. You're fighting battles over here, man. She's at home doing her thing, but you're out there doing your thing.
So let me ask, all I can prove to you if you're beta or alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Your first child, was it a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Beta.
Hey, who said? That came right out too. You didn't even let me finish. I said girl before I even got girl. Before I got that last, the L out, you were like, beta.
Real men made boys first.
Well, real men, that's not true. Let me give you some
Because
stats.
when I was growing up, I knew no one that made girls
Nah,
first.
see, your science is faulty.
When I made my first child, black people make babies out of wedlock, right? You know about that, right?
That's so anti-Christian.
What do you mean?
No, I'm kidding.
It's black.
It's No, but listen, I got a stat for you.
When I made my first child, it was a boy.
I know, but I got a stat for you.
Because I knew the secret to making boys first.
No. See, no. You're off. I'm gonna tell you why. The science, if you look at all the Spartans, every Navy SEAL, Tier 1 commando, Delta Force guys, Green Berets, race car drivers, all of them almost always have girls.
You know why, right?
Because their body temperatures run hot.
No.
Why?
They were mama's boys.
Damn, they're beta too?
Uh-huh.
Damn! I'm learning new things, man. I'm just like a Navy SEAL. It's terrible. I love it. Yeah, so that's interesting though, those questions, because maybe the dynamic is already there, You're a product of your culture. You're a product of your upbringing. You're a product of the family structures that you come from, right?
Yeah.
So I never really had to think about that stuff. But I will say that when I would see guys, I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but like if I have a friend, some of those guys who tell their wives everything and they're best friends with their wives.
Yeah.
I don't trust that guy.
Right on.
I'm not saying,
No, you're right, absolutely.
I'm like, because I can't, there's certain things that you tell a man, there's just certain things in life that belong in that male space.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think a man should ever marry an educated woman?
Well, yeah, I like education for women. I have no problem with that.
Do you think that a man should ever marry an educated woman?
Sure, you can do that.
Because I noticed that I've seen that educated women don't make for good wives and mothers?
I don't know the data on that. I like education for men and women. I think education is a good savior.
And why do you like it for women?
Well, because I think that education is for everyone. I think let's do an experiment here. When you take one side of your population, which is women, let's do a traditional society. Japan had this problem for a long time. It's a very patriarchal society, and men were almost always the ones that did all the things that the innovation, right. That ran business and stuff like that. Yes. Women were really, and this is most societies where women are essentially second-class citizens, or at least they are bred to be home and not that smart. And the problem with that, actually, is when you take half your population and you don't educate them, and especially the women that want to be educated, the women that overlap with men, who have great ideas, who might be gifted surgeons or gifted violinists or gifted entrepreneurs, your society suffers a little bit.
No.
You don't have innovation.
No, that's not true.
No?
An
Let me get my water here.
Woman,
let me wet my mouth.
Her husband is taking care of the stuff, and she's home watching over the children, doing the housework and all that. She is a better woman than an educated woman because she's in her proper role, and she loves that role. She's not jealous of the man. She never compete with him, and she obeys her husband without a thought, because she's in her proper role.
I got a solution for you.
And she loved doing that, and that's how it was in America at one time, and it made America a better Christian society and a better America. And if you notice, as soon as the women became educated, everything went to hell in a handbasket. The women went out of control, not because women are jealous of men. They're jealous of men, so they want to be equal to men. They want the same pay. They want everything the same. And
equal to men.
And it's because they're jealous of the men. And
I got a solution for you.
They want to be equal to a man, which would never happen.
Okay, I got a better solution. Watch this. What do you think of this? So it's true that that third wave feminism has painted traditional womanhood, family, home, tending to the hearth, giving the home a heart,
right,
and all that. It's not only been attacked, you've been told that you are, wasting your life and all that stuff, right? There's been a lot of that. To the point even where with this transgender thing now, it's a snake eating its own tail. Now a man can decide he's a woman without even getting cross-sex hormones or anything.
Yeah.
And just, this was the madness of it all. And said, well, now you got to treat me on the exact same level, so there's no real difference. I would say this: a society should provide equal opportunity of education. So if you're a woman and you want to get your PhD, that should absolutely be promoted and allowed.
No.
Allowed. Hold on.
No.
And then the other women who want to be traditional can do that too. So you need freedom of expression.
Why does a woman need to be educated?
Because you don't want to. So Jesse Lee Peterson, are you telling me that you wouldn't even allow women to get educated?
Why should a woman be educated?
Where would you stop their education?
At the house. So
they wouldn't even go to school.
They go to high school.
Hey man, is this 1950? Where are we? 1920? What happened? Am I on a time capsule right now? Am I getting punked? Where are we?
They can go to high school if they want,
If they want. No college.
Right.
Stop them. Stop them with the guards.
But
we need the National Guard out here. We got all these women with all this estrogen trying to break their way into these institutions of higher learning. I can't have it.
In the good old days, women were not allowed to vote, right?
In the good old days.
Right.
Jesse?
We're men.
We're both canceled. We're both canceled just for being here.
We're men and boys were boys. Women were not allowed to vote. You know about that, right?
I do.
You do
I know about
it.
the suffragists.
And also, you couldn't vote unless you owned land.
What's that? Yeah, if you were a landowner? If you were a white Christian landowner?
If you didn't have land, you couldn't vote.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me we should go back to those times?
I do not agree with you on that, no.
And why not?
Because I don't think land ownership, especially in Los Angeles. You ever try to buy a house in Los Angeles?
If you can only vote if you own property, then the prices in LA would be perfect. Because what happened is when these people vote, they're voting in all this kind of stuff, and the proper owners have to pay for it. The taxes goes up, and you're paying for babysitting, you're paying for
There's a lot going on.
for all the school stuff.
I think the enemy is not
But-
land ownership. I think education is our biggest the lack of education in the American
taxes
populace.
and this voting stuff. But let me ask this, because of time, do you create your own thoughts?
It's a good question. I don't know where my thoughts come from. You know, it's a good question. It's a good question to ask too. Do I reside in my body or do I reside somewhere else? The essence of me, the true me, right? So it's your soul, consciousness, might not be in our brain.
And so, do you create your own thoughts?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
I really don't know.
I mean, I want you to know you don't,
Yeah,
and I want you to check that out. You'll see that you don't.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. Where do you think they come from?
From hell.
Really?
Yeah. If you notice with thoughts, you get those that make you feel good, and as soon as you're feeling good, you get those that make you feel bad, and as soon as you're feeling bad, you get those that make you feel good. As soon as you're feeling good, you get those that make you feel bad, and after a while, you want to jump off a bridge somewhere.
That's right.
And that's because you have nothing to do with them, but you think you do because you've identified with them, and because you think you do, you overreact to them, and when you overreact, you give them authority over you.
But now you're talking exactly like a Buddhist.
Because you think
This is
that
the Vedanta.
You.
You're
What?
talking like a Buddhist. This is Buddhism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you Buddhist?
I like that. Yeah, I love the Buddhist ideology. What you just said is
Uh-huh.
pure Buddhism. Do you know that?
No.
So maybe you're a Buddhist, not a Christian. Oh boy.
No.
You see what happened there? He's talking about being a Christian. He just literally sounded like the Buddha. I want to know what's going on with you, man.
Really?
Yeah, you're a traditionalist. You sound like an old school Islamist when you talk about women. And you sound like an Islamic fundamentalist when you talk about women. Now you start talking about thoughts and you sound like a Buddhist.
Now I'm about to tell you
There's a
how.
lot going on with you, man.
Now I'm about to tell you how to have perfect peace right now if you
Okay,
want
give
it.
it up, man.
And you do want it.
It's my gift. This is my gift basket.
You got to drop your anger.
Yeah, how do I do that?
Forgive your mother. Your mother has recreated you in her image. She turned you against your father, and she made you think she was the victim and that your father was the villain, when in reality, she was the villain and your father was the victim. Your father didn't know how to handle the hell in her, and so he didn't know how to protect you from her, and as a result, your mother made you angry, and the moment you became angry, you took on the mindset and emotions of your mother. And all that anger you have and those emotions are just like your mother, and it's never going to change until you go. Once you see that you're angry at her, anger is hatred. Hatred separates you from God. Because anyone that has anger, has hatred, they're playing God. They judge right from wrong. They think they know right from wrong and all that. You're playing God. And you're never going to be free until you face your mother and forgive her. Don't ask for forgiveness. You apologize for judging her. As a kid, you can help it. As an adult, you can overcome it by forgiving her. And whether she admit it or not, that's on her. Leave her in her own hell. You will forgive her for what she done. God will forgive you, and everything will change. He will give you perfect peace right now.
Where did you come to that philosophy?
Christianity.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that in Christianity?
Yes.
I've not read that.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Yeah.
In what sense? Does that play into the Mother Mary?
Who?
Does that play into Jesus' mother or what?
No. God talks about it. Matter of fact, you can't even enter to the kingdom of perfect peace until you forgive your mother and then turn back to your father by forgiving him for not protecting you from your mother. Your father loved you. He just didn't know how to deal with your mother. And so when you forgive, God said before you can enter into perfect peace, you must go and forgive. You got to honor your parents. And the way you honor them is by not resenting them anymore. They couldn't help themselves. Your mother did it. Your mother did it to her, and her mother did it to her, and she did it to you. And if you don't overcome your mother, you're already married to your mother. The woman you're married to is your mother. You're married to what you hate. And she's going to destroy your kids and do exactly to your kids for what your mother had done to you. You got to forgive your mother, and then God will give you perfect peace, and the world cannot touch you with perfect peace.
How many times have you explained this to a feminist, and I want to know what happens? How's that go?
A whole lot of times they get mad and leave the room, but some say, wow, you're right about that.
Well,
I do resent my mother. So will you forgive your mother?
Well, there's a lot of Freud in that, I think.
Who?
Freud. Talked about the mother.
Will you forgive your mother?
Mm-hmm.
You going to go and forgive her what she done to you?
Mm-hmm.
I want to warn you ahead of time. When you forgive your mother, will you really see that you're angry at her and why? And you go and say, hey, mother, I've been resenting you, and I'm sorry for that. I realize now you can't help yourself because I'm just like you. God will forgive you. Everything's going to change. And it means that you're going to deal with your wife differently, too, and your wife's not going to like it.
I'm not going to be a beta anymore.
No. But she's not going to like it. And real hell going to come out of her. You're going to see all her little Christianity stuff go out the window.
Really?
Yeah. And you
trying to get me divorced now? You
No,
and I going to be a couple single guys?
That's why I'm warning you ahead of time, because you're right.
You're not good. You'd be the worst marriage counselor on the planet.
You're right in that.
This is how he'd be. He'd be like this. Listen, I know you guys have problems. You are wrong 100%, and you've been mean to him.
And
even if she had bruises.
And why do you think that once you forgive your mother and wake up, you're going to change? That will be a divorce.
Well, you just told me that hell's going to come out of my wife when I do
Right.
that. Why?
Because the spirit in her is going to hate the new spirit in you. Your spirit.
What's that spirit going to be?
Yours going to be perfect love.
All right. That's
And she
good. I
won't
like
be
that.
ahead of that.
Why? She needs a stronger.
Because the hell in her, the light in you, will be hated by the darkness in her.
So I heard a therapist. I went to couples therapy one time, and the therapist said this. That was interesting. He said, one of the biggest problems I have is that women are drawn to a man when they're dating him to his aggression, to his competitiveness, to his warrior spirit where he takes on the world and fights the world and comes back with the goods, all that stuff. And she's drawn to that. But then she gets married to him and has children, and she's afraid he's going to take that aggression and turn it back on her.
No,
so she weeds it out of him, and then what happens is she's no longer attracted to him.
Who told you that?
This therapist said that.
Get your money back.
Really?
Yeah. Women are looking for a father's love. And they think that when they first meet the guy, they're thinking that they're seeing that in him. And then when they get married, they find out they married their mama. Because the man is emotional, he doesn't have common sense, he's emotional, he's angry. And then the fight starts between the man and the woman, two devils fighting one another. Because now he hates the hell in her, and she hates the hell in them, and the man, and you have a fight. Will you forgive your mother?
Mm-hmm.
You will go and forgive her? Mm-hmm. So let me warn you, have no expectation from your mother. If she apologizes, that's nice. If she doesn't, that's fine. You forgive her, and God will forgive you. I'm sorry for resenting you. Forgiveness is admitting that you're wrong for being angry. Forgiveness is not just saying, oh, I'm sorry, and do it over again, right? But when you realize you're wrong for judging her because you didn't understand at the time, you became like her. You apologizing for judging, for playing God. And then forgive your father for not protecting you from her. Your father loved you, he just didn't know how to deal with her. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. And you will have perfect peace.
I like that.
I promise you that.
Appreciate
I'm not going to tell you. And the world can't touch you. One other thing, I mean, we're running out of time here. Why do you...
I got time. Hey, we're talking about things here.
Why are you competitive?
I don't know. I that's always been in me. It's more I'm competitive with myself. Like if I feel like I'm being lazy and not fun. So I always have this saying, my best self is always clearing his throat in the other room. right? So in other words, hey, bro, you're messing up. You could be paying more attention. You could be working harder. You know.
So why don't you drop that and just live your life, be your best, and you would never lose if you just simply live without competing, without comparing,
Yes.
without doing anything, and you will always be your best. And then
good
when you're
advice.
your best, then there will be no winning or losing. You'll be fine.
I'm getting better at doing that.
Once you drop your anger, it's going to become natural.
Okay.
You got to drop the anger because it's all ego.
Oh, there you go.
Your anger is of your father, the devil. It has nothing to do with God. As a matter of fact, it's keeping you away from perfect peace.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So what's wrong with the blacks?
I'm not answering. You see how he leads me into deep water? He's trying to lead me into deep water. Women are the problem. Now he's saying, now I'm a beta. And I had my first kid was a girl. And now what's wrong with the blacks? Now, how am I supposed to answer that? Let me say a couple things about the blacks. This culture is really biracial culture, you see. Where would we be without the black expression in America? We wouldn't have rock and roll. We wouldn't have our highest art form, jazz.
But we would have peace on earth.
You hear that? You hear that, America? Every black person who listens to this just turn that. They're just like, I gotta get out of here.
And so what's wrong with the blacks?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the blacks. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think that
Really?
yeah, but I like the Thomas Sowell conversation about cultures.
Yes.
And what cultures work in the 21st century better than other cultures. So Thomas Sowell in Black Rednecks and White Liberals did a great thing where he compares the British, the Scottish and British people of the Highlands, the Scottish and the British
Well,
Highlands.
let me ask because of time.
Yeah.
You don't think anything is wrong with the blacks?
No,
So why do they need DEI?
I don't think they do. I think when you lower the playing field, yeah.
They fought for affirmative action.
So did a
Then
lot
they
of
asked
whites.
for reparation.
Yeah.
And now they want DEI where they
Some-
don't even have to qualify.
Some did. So some people get seduced by ideas where they can. So this idea of being able to socially engineer equality from a top-down authority. The biggest debate is, can the government from a top-down authority?
The government on the problem
I'm
with the
saying the
blacks.
way people think is this. Some people say we got to socially engineer equality, or equality comes from the individual. So in other words, individual responsibility, family units always produce what? A better outcome, right? Frugality, education, self-control, all these things, right? Your grandmother, all these values your grandmother instilled in you.
And grandfather.
You understand? So those are the things that create the best in a human being.
So you
when we
don't
get
think-
away from that,
You don't think anything is wrong with the blacks?
the same thing that might be wrong with some black people in certain cultures is the same thing that's wrong with certain white people in those cultures
you
as
do
well,
see
that
that-
emulate each other.
But you do see something is wrong with the blacks, right?
What you mean the black population in general?
No, the blacks.
No, I don't generalize. Stop saying the blacks like that.
Like what?
Just the blacks. Stop taking a blanket and throwing it like that, man. Come on, Jesse.
Do you believe?
Damn, you're so anti-woke.
Do you believe racism exists?
I don't like this notion of systemic racism. I do think when you're a black person or you're a certain type of person, when you walk into a room, if you're a surgeon and you're black and you come in and you're there to treat a white family or somebody who's white, there might be certain assumptions you have to overcome. Like, for example, the white person might say, is he here because of DEI? You know, those might be things you have to overcome.
Every time I get on a plane, that's my first thought.
Who's the pilot?
Yeah.
We all do.
And if I see a black person, I'm like, this is DEI, let me off.
But this
you do the same thing?
This is where trying to socially engineer equality with your good ideas on a blackboard isn't so good.
Right.
Like, let people compete.
Right.
The best person for the job. So
Right.
equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome.
So
That's
may
my
I-
problem with DEI.
May I tell you that racism does not exist? It has never existed, cannot exist, is impossible. No such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, Allahu-Abbaism.
Why?
No such thing as white supremacy.
Why do you say all
no
that?
No such thing as anti-Semitism. No isms.
Why?
because our battle is spiritual. It's
What's
a
our battle
battle
is
between
spiritual?
right and wrong, good and evil. It has nothing to do
That's
with
very
physical.
interesting.
Has nothing to do with color. And when I was growing up, I didn't even hear the word racism. I didn't know about that word.
So if you follow the Christian tenet, love thy neighbor, that's all you got to worry about, right?
Absolutely. It's spiritual. Are you of good or of evil?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I really do.
And the worst
I
thing,
see. I love simplicity. This is why I like
Yeah.
you. This is why I don't agree with you necessarily on certain things, but I like
Right.
you because there's a certain elegance to truth.
Yeah.
And what you just said is elegant because it's simple and it's truthful.
Absolutely.
So you're getting to the heart of the matter. This answer, all the problems stem from the idea that people don't follow that one tenet, right? Love thy neighbor.
We're supposed to even love our enemies.
That's the most radical idea in Christianity.
And it's perfect.
It's the most radical idea.
What's going to happen to you when you forgive your mother? And God, don't ask for forgiveness. Mother, I'm sorry for hating you or being angry at you. I know now you can help yourself. You screwed me up because you're crazy, right? God will forgive you, and you will never, ever, 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 but never again get angry at anyone or hate anyone. You'll speak up, but you will not be angry. You will never argue with anyone because you will have nothing to prove.
Do you know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yes, I've
So-
interviewed him before.
Oh, okay, so he said something really profound too. He was like, if psychologists would talk about the neurosis, neurosis
Yes,
is higher in women typically than men.
yes.
And
you know why that is,
Well, he
right?
said, what makes you think your central nervous system evolved to serve you? It evolved to serve the child. So as a woman, when you walk into a room, you got to foresee 50 dangers. So you got to look at, is there a creepy uncle in the house? Is there a nervous dog? Is there a sharp edge? Is there an uncovered pool? 1,000 things you got to do as a woman. The man walks in and goes, hey man, is that your truck in the driveway? What you got under the hood? That's what he's thinking. So it creates a neurosis
Well,
because
I
you
can
almost
make
have
it
to be.
simpler than that. The reason for that is because, as you know, the God above is the man's God, and the God below is the woman's God. So the woman nature is evil.
I do not know that. Don't start telling me I know that. Don't start assigning me that I know that a woman's God is Satan. I didn't sign off on that, man. I'm not going to have you clip that as I'm sitting there nodding my head. Hey, Bryan, what happened to your career? Well, Jesse Lee Peterson had me on one afternoon, one sunny afternoon in Los Angeles, and it's been a disaster ever since.
But that's why, so the God above is the man's God, and the God below is the woman's God. So in her nature, she has no love. Have you known that women don't have love?
No, I've not noticed that.
Women don't have love.
No, that's not
They
fair.
only have hate.
No.
And they,
No, you can't say that.
What?
No. There's no. I need to see the science. I need to see the data on that.
Look at the woman's nature.
No. That's not in the Bible, even, man.
It is.
No. You might be
No,
reading some
it
other.
is in the Bible.
Some text that you found in some
No.
dusty gift shop somewhere
No,
with like a pentagram
it's in the
on it.
Bible.
Huh?
It's in the Bible.
Where's that Bible? Where's that? Quote that for me.
Remember when at one time God and his son Christ had a relationship. They knew each other. Without even words, they knew. They communicate.
Yeah.
And then God put Adam to sleep. He got the rib from the woman, from Adam, and made the woman.
Yes.
And so Adam was the God over the woman. And then they were fine because the woman obeyed her husband, who obeyed his father.
Yes.
Right? Am I right?
Yes.
And then one day she went out shopping. Let's say she's a white woman.
She's a white woman.
And she went shopping. She got some vegetables.
And she ordered salad.
Right.
And some
Then,
soda.
but while she's at the market, she met Satan. And Satan like, you still with that man Adam? Yes, we're happy. We're doing fine. I love my husband. He was like, you can be your own man. And she's like, no, I don't want to be that. I want to be with my husband. I obey my husband. My husband's my head. I obey him, and we have a perfect life. And then and she went home and told Adam, and Adam said, hey, stay away from him. Don't listen to him. Ignore him. And then one day she went back shopping again for some baby food because they had their first child. It was a girl. You know what I'm saying? It was a beta baby.
It was a beta baby. Because Adam was a beta. You heard it first. It's not in the Bible, but it's inferred. It's inferred.
No, but his son was a boy. But anyway, And so she went shopping again, and Satan saw her, and she's like, "You still with that man?" "Yeah." "You look at Adam. He listens to his father. He doesn't even have his own mind."
It's no fun. Yeah.
He listens to his father. You could be like Adam. You could be your own man.
You could be your own God.
Right. You could take your bra off. You can do whatever you want. And she believed that. And once she believed it, she could no longer believe her husband. So she went back home, and everything has changed. She could not believe her husband. And it was a big fight. They started fighting for the first time and everything. Because in that very moment, Satan became the woman's God. And then, long story short, eventually, Adam believes her. "Oh, don't listen to your father. Be your own man. Your father just trying to control you. In the same way your mother did you with your father, and all mothers do to children, right? Don't listen to your father, listen to me." And the moment he listened to Eve, the woman became his God. And he could no longer listen to his father. He listened to the woman. And so that's why Christ came, and he restored all that. And now our salvation is about returning to the Father. And so men and women, if they want to be free, they got to return to the Father, overcome the mother's nature and return to the Father. And once you return, the prodigal son, who is lost in his imagination and emotions,
Yep.
and the prodigal daughter, got to return to the Father.
Right.
And once you do that, you'll be free. And that's why God said, because you listen to that woman, every time you listen, you're going to suffer. And so the evil come through the woman. It's not her per se, it's her nature, which is the nature of evil. And she hates the man because the man is the son of God. And the nature of the woman, which is the nature of evil, hate the son of God. And that's why it's always trying to destroy the son of God. It always embarrassing him, belittling him, controlling him, cutting off his body part, making her...
What do you mean cut off his body parts?
You know, now they cut off men, trying to turn them into transgenders and all that mess. and then she yell at him. She make him worship her. And if you don't worship her, she give you pure hell. But when you forgive your mother, you'll get over that. And your wife will too if she forgive her mother and return to the Father. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, huh?
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, there's some stuff in there that but yeah.
Amazing, huh? So, because of time, did you vote for the Great White Hope?
Yes.
Right on, huh?
Yeah.
And how do you know who the Great White Hope is?
I just do a little math.
Right on. So I got to put you on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I need you to answer these questions because of time.
Let's go.
As quickly as possible.
Okay.
All right. So you are going to go and forgive your mother, right? Mm-hmm. And your father. And ask your dad, why do you protect me from her? And you'll see. All right. So I got to put you on the hot seat.
The hot seat.
What is love?
Love is when someone else's happiness and well-being is more important than your own.
Amazing. True or false, real men make boys first.
False. False, Jesse.
Is the earth flat or round?
Round.
Who is the greatest UFC fighter of all time?
John Jones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no doubt.
Amazing.
Anderson Silva second.
Do white people tremble knowing, do you tremble knowing that white people will become the minority in America?
Well, the answer, if a gun in my head, I will say that the average white person probably looks out there and when he's at the airport or a game and he's like, damn, there's a lot of them. You understand? But I'm colorblind, so, hey, I grew up around blacks and brown people, so.
Amazing.
I feel more comfortable around it.
I tremble knowing that white people may become minority. It's over for America.
You are a white supremacist, okay? And I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to storm off this stage.
Yeah, what a mess, huh? Are UFOs real?
No.
Is the earth flat or round?
Round.
Do you love white people?
Am I pro-white? No. I love a lot of white people in my life, yeah.
Do you love white people?
No, I don't love blanket, just don't love white people. No, there are a lot of a-holes who are white people.
And so, do you love white people?
No.
Are you, have you ever
Clip
told,
that up.
Have you ever told anyone how the cow ate the cabbage?
I never have, no.
True or false? Sending your child to a public school is child abuse.
False.
Is it ever okay to call a woman fat?
If you're drunk enough.
Did the bear,
If she's a big enough bitch to you, sometimes maybe.
True or false? When she's crying, she's lying.
No comment. But it's a powerful weapon. It's a powerful weapon, man.
Does the bear shit in the woods?
Yes.
Did you have fun?
I had a good time.
Thank you, man. That was amazing.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're radical. You lead me down some crazy rabbit holes. And I've been sometimes you got to just sit quiet and go, Women, I got some stuff out of this. Women worship Satan. I got to forgive my mother.
Yeah.
Because she's the problem of it all. Women ruin everything. That's what
Will you let me know when you forgive your mother?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, let me know.
Yes, sir.
It's going to blow your mind.
I'm excited.
And again, don't expect her to apologize or anything. It's for you to go free. God will forgive you. All right?
All right.
And if she blame you, I need to be forgiving you.
That's a bad impression of my mom right there. Who says my mom talks that way? She says, I need to be forgiving you. Why'd you jut your jaw out like that, man? And my mother doesn't have she doesn't have an underbite. This is not an inbred situation, man. You see what he just did? Yeah, I'm gonna be forgiving you. I'm like, hey, man, that's not my mom. She's 85, a little respect.
Or she may even blame your father. It was your father.
It was your father. She says it was your father, Jesse.
Right.
She's not from Alabama.
But if you're black, it's your father.
I mean, yeah. All right, it's your father. All right, good. I like that. See, I'm learning. I'm learning.
Amazing.
I should have brought my notepad to write this stuff down.
Tell the folks how to get your books, your podcast.
Hey, man, I'm going to be, when does this thing air?
I don't know yet, but we'll let you know.
Well, my career will be over by then, but it doesn't matter. Listen, go to bryancallen.com, and I'm going to be in Miami coming up. I'm doing stand-up there. I'm doing stand-up in Minnesota this weekend. I got Miami. I'll be at the Dania Improv. I got Portland. I'll be at Helium. I'm all over the place. I got my whole schedule.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how can they get your podcast and all that?
Off Limits is on everywhere you get podcasts, and Fighter and the Kid. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks, bro.
That was amazing, man. I wish you well.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you all for tuning in. I absolutely appreciate it. Don't forget to like, follow, ring the bell, subscribe, and get Punchy's coffee. I have my own coffee.
Oh, you do?
It's called Punchy's Coffee.
I love coffee, man.
Punch, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Is
a
it
black guy
Arabica
from
beans?
Alabama has coffee.
Where'd you get, where are those beans from? Punchy's. Okay.
That's my nickname.
I like coffee. You drink a lot of coffee?
I drink 1 cup a day.
Yeah, you look healthy.
In the morning.
You take care of yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
And plus, black don't crack.
I was gonna say, because you got good skin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget to check out Punch's Coffee at Jesse Lee Peterson shop. Jesse Lee Peterson shop. Like, follow, and thank you all for tuning in. Take care. Amazing. Thank you, man.
That's good, man. That was fun. That was so funny. What do you think of the blacks? Do you love white people?